Saelah headed down the hall to answer the door as Denny finished putting the finishing touches on his costume. Her Alphas and Sukuna were picking them up, and then the 6 of them were going out for dinner before heading to Satoru's club. He'd informed her they were doing a theme night, and she was excited to see all the costumes that would trickle in. Growing up, Halloween was one of her favorite holidays because she got to be whoever or whatever she wanted to be. It allowed her the ability to not be herself for a brief moment, and once she presented in high school, the holiday felt like an escape each year. Saelah opened the front door to find her Alphas on the other side, and she couldn't keep from staring if she tried. She'd known they would look good in the costumes she'd chosen for them, but seeing them wear them was a completely different experience. The thought of skipping their plans and doing a bit of role-playing flashed through her mind. It didn't help that the costumes were extremely indulgent on her part. She'd chosen 3 characters who, if they stepped off the pages, out of the television, she'd let them do whatever they wanted to her and thank them for it. Satoru was dressed as Kakashi Hatake, Kento as Lloyd Forger, and Suguru as Byakuya Kuchiki. "It's like a wet dream come true," Saelah mumbled before she could stop herself, and it drew a chuckle from her Alphas. "I can promise you were thinking the same," Satoru replied as his eyes roamed over her. "You look gorgeous, pretty," Kento complimented. "Cowboy Bebop. Coffee, right?" Suguru asked. "I'm impressed," Saelah responded. Cowboy Bebop was one of her favorite anime, and not too many people remembered coffee. "Kento and Satoru are right. You look delicious," Suguru said. "And the 3 of you look like perfect rides," she complimented with a sly grin. "You keep looking at us like that and you might get more than you bargained for," Kento told her. Saelah smiled. "I'm not opposed to that." She stepped aside to allow them in. "Don't worry about your shoes," she informed them, leading them over to the couch. The 3 men sat and Kento pulled her down onto his lap. "We're just waiting on Sukuna, and then we can go." They didn't have to wait long as the doorbell sounded a few minutes later, and Denny stated he'd get it as he came down the hall in his Usopp costume. Sukuna stood on the other side of the door, dressed as Natsu Dragneel, and Saelah had to admit she hadn't thought he'd wear it since Denny had kept the costume a secret until he dropped it off, much like she'd done with her Alphas. The group left the apartment and headed towards the train. It was easier than taking 2 vehicles and safer since they planned to drink. It was 7 o'clock, but there were already so many people out dressed up, and they hadn't even made it to the heartbeat of Tokyo. They saw more people on the train and received compliments on their costumes as they headed to their first destination of the evening. The restaurant was one Sukuna had chosen. He enjoyed the spicy food there, and since the last time they'd all gotten together had been for her birthday, and he'd been pulled along to places she liked, Saelah thought it was only fair that he chose the restaurant for the night. As he'd stated, the food was delicious, and she made a mental note to return soon and try a couple of the other dishes they offered. Once the bill was paid, they exited the restaurant and headed back towards the station. When they arrived at the club, they bypassed the line to several of the awaiting patrons' dismay and entered. "Let's get a round of drinks," Denny suggested when they were seated at a table. "There's some themed drinks on the menu tonight," Sukuna said. "I'll grab the first round. And I remember," he said, turning his attention to Kento, "nothing fruity for you. Something overly fruity for you," he then said to Satoru. "I'll help you carry them," Denny volunteered, and the 2 headed towards the bar. As they waited, Saelah looked around and found that almost everyone in attendance was in costume. There were some she recognized easily, some that took a moment to figure out what they were, and others she had no clue about. Sukuna and Denny returned faster than she thought they would for the number of people in attendance, and when she pointed it out, Denny snorted. The sound was barely heard over the music. And that's because he went behind the bar and made them himself, pissed off some people waiting since he only made our drinks. "I'm not working today, which means I don't have to take care of anyone else but you," Sukuna said with a smirk, then a wink to Denny. "Smooth, real smooth," her friend responded. Drinks were handed out, and Saelah had no idea what Sukuna had made for her, but it was delicious. She made a mental note to ask him once he and Denny returned from the dance floor, where her friend had pulled the alpha after everyone had their drinks. She was listening to Satoru tell Suguru about a piece he wanted when Shoko and Udahime approached the table. Greetings went around, and the 2 pulled up chairs to join them. Over the next hour and a half, Saelah had another drink, danced with her Alphas, and the rest of their friends trickled in. Saelah hadn't known they would be there, and apparently neither had the 3 men, but she didn't mind. She'd gotten along with them all fine, aside from Esdeath, and even that was one-sided from the other woman. Speaking of, Saelah could feel the other woman's eyes burning a hole through her as if she were trying to set her on fire as she danced with Satoru. "You'd tell me if you slept with her, right?" Saelah asked, and Satoru didn't seem to need her to elaborate. "I would, and I haven't," he replied. Saelah glanced towards the table, and Esdeath looked away from her with an eye roll. "She's starting to irritate me," Saelah said. "I didn't do anything to her. She needs to take up whatever issue she has with you and Suguru if she's crushing that badly." "Ignore her," Satoru instructed, leaning down to kiss her. Saelah would have loved to, but it seemed the other woman was intent on making that difficult. When they returned to the table, Esdeath had moved from the chair she'd previously occupied to the one Saelah had originally been seated in beside Suguru. Instead of taking the other woman's previous seat, which was away from each of her alphas, Saelah slid onto Suguru's lap and kissed him. If Esdeath wanted to be mad at her about something, she'd give her a reason. "Did you miss me?" Saelah asked, not caring what Esdeath was talking about before her interruption, or the way she could see her glaring out of her peripheral vision. She'd only been away from the table for 15 minutes, dancing with Kento, then Satoru after Suguru had been the first she'd pulled onto the dance floor. "Always," Suguru replied, giving her another kiss, and Saelah couldn't help but smile at him. "It was quite rude of you to interrupt our conversation," Esdeath said, and Saelah shifted her attention to her. "Rude is you still flirting when you know they're courting me," Saelah countered. "Rude is you being pissed at me because they won't give you the time of day. You've had, 8 years? She knew they met in college, so she figured that sounded about right. It's past time to throw in the towel, because the microscopic chance you might have had became non-existent when they met me," Saelah finished. Esdeath glared at her, her pheromones spiking with anger before she stood abruptly and stumped off. Saelah watched her go with a few other people at the table before Suguru's slow chuckle pulled her attention. "You're sexy when you're possessive," he told her. "I'm sexy all the time," she countered. "Yes, you are," Suguru agreed. "I'm glad she's gone because she was getting on my nerves," Jenny stated. "I was also getting secondhand embarrassment from her striking out each time she opened her mouth." "She's always been like that. She thinks with enough persuasion she can have anyone she wants," Shoko said. "In her defense, it normally works out for her," Udahime added. "That's probably why she's still trying, to prove it'll eventually work on them," Shoko stated. "Well, it's time for her to give up. I meant what I said," Saelah replied, picking up Suguru's drink. But honestly, she didn't care if Esdeath tried until she was blue in the face. It wouldn't work, and she'd just keep embarrassing herself. Putting the other woman out of her mind, she focused on enjoying the rest of the night. Kento held the door open as Satoru walked in carrying Saelah. His friend had scooped her up when they'd gotten off the train and refused to let her walk since she'd been on her feet a majority of the night. "Remind me how we always end up at your place, Satoru," Suguru said, bending where the other alpha had put Saelah down to help remove her boots. "It's centrally located," Satoru replied. "You would also think at some point Sugino would realize Yuji's old enough to know why he doesn't come home some nights. He'd probably just ignore the noises if Sugino brought someone home." "You can't blame him for not wanting to scar his nephew," Kento said, changing into his slippers. "I agree," Saelah stated. "I think it's nice he wants to help him keep his innocence, and I don't mind giving him and Denny the apartment because I always have you to hang out with. Even if I didn't, I'd just put on my headphones or something." She slipped her feet into her slippers. "Thank you," she stated in general, something Kento noticed she did when she was thanking them each for something different. "I have something I want to talk to you about." "Of course, pretty," Kento said, and the four of them entered the living room and took up residence on the couch. "My courting marks are fading, and I'd like you to renew them," she informed. Kento knew they would need to soon. His was fading as well, and he anticipated another week or so before it was gone completely. The last thing he was sure any of them wanted was for others to think they were available. He held out his hand, and Saelah moved to him. Kento pulled her onto his lap and took her wrist into his hand. He kissed the gland before biting into the spot Satoru had placed his last time. He ran his tongue over the fresh bite, gave it another kiss, and released her. Kento watched her move to Suguru, and he bit into the same spot he had before, his bite now beside Kento's instead of Satoru's before she moved to the oldest alpha, and he marked her other scent gland, the one that had originally housed Kento's mark. "Should I redo yours?" Saelah asked, looking between them. "How is everyone supposed to know we're off the market?" Satoru teased. She renewed their marks, and when she was seated on the couch again, Kento shared a look with the other two. Now was as good a time as any to bring up meeting their families. "We wanted to talk to you about something as well," Kento started. "My parents are inviting Suguru and Kento's families to our family home for the Christmas holiday," Satoru picked up, "and we wanted to know if you'd like to go with us. We want to introduce you to them and inform them of our relationship and of our plans for mating," Suguru added. Kento watched Saelah as she thought about it for a moment, and he figured he should let her know she didn't have to if she wasn't ready yet, or if she was uncomfortable with it. "You can say no, pretty, and we can do it when you're ready. We aren't trying to rush you." "You told me this was your third time pursuing the same person. Do your parents know about the other 2 times?" Saelah asked. "I told my parents about the first time," Satoru replied. "I didn't tell mine, but I'm positive my mom figured it out the second time," Kento responded honestly. "I didn't tell my parents, but mainly because I didn't want my little sisters bugging me about it, but also because I'm pretty private about my relationship until they reach a certain stage," Suguru said. Saelah looked between the 3 of them. "But you want to tell them now?" "If you're okay with it," Suguru replied. "Like Kento said, we aren't trying to rush you, so we can wait until you're ready," Satoru added. Kento watched her fidget with her fingers. "I'm just a little worried about how they'll respond. Each of you could court someone and have a mate to yourself, and I'm sure that's what your parents want for you. I don't want them to feel like I forced you into—" "Stop," Suguru cut her off. "You didn't force us into anything. If anything, we roped you into this," Satoru added. "We know what we want, and it's you," Kento informed. He studied her. "And we know you want us too. We're willing to share. It's what we want. Besides, you heard what Shoko said. The 3 of us spend way too much time together. We were always destined to share a mate," Satoru reminded. "Or be without one," Kento thought. Saelah nodded slowly. "If you're sure, then I don't mind going, but I should be honest. Outside of Denny, I don't have any family to introduce you to. You know my mom passed away several years ago, and my sperm donor might as well be dead too." Then we'll welcome you into our families, Kento said, and eventually start our own, Suguru added. Her eyes went wide and Kento refrained from chuckling because he knew Suguru was partially teasing, trying to put her at ease. You mean kids? Saelah asked as if there could be anything else. Not right this second, but if you want to practice, we're all for it, Satoru said, adding to the teasing. Kento watched recognition enter Sailah's eyes, catching on to the fact that they were messing with her before her gaze shifted to mischief. Can we practice now? She asked, and the entire atmosphere of the room shifted with that question. What she wanted had remained unspoken, but Kento knew they all understood. My rut starts in 4 days. Are you sure you can handle that tonight? Suguru asked. That gives me 3 days to recuperate, Saelah countered. We need to hear you say it then, little Alpha. Tell us what you want, Satoru commanded. All 3 of you. It was like a secret being spoken into the air, and the immediate sense of arousal that took over the space were unmistakable. Wanting to take 3 prime alphas at once would be no easy task, so Kento needed to ask, do you know what you're asking for, pretty? She shifted her attention to him and smiled. More than I bargained for. The smile that split Kento's face was predatory as his words were turned back on him. He stood, taking her into his arms. If that was what she wanted, it was exactly what she would get.